In the Pokemon YouTube space, there's a lot of big creators, one of them being known as PokeRev.
Can you purchase rare Pokemon cards from Amazon.com?
With over 2 million subscribers, he's clearly one of the biggest Pokemon creators on the platform. Now, out of fun, I decided to make a video explaining how they actually edit for the channel. I figured this would be very educational for any of you out there that want to step up their editing for their own Pokemon content. So without further ado, let's get to it. So in front of me is one of the videos called Amazon Sold Me $1,000 Charizards. So let's go ahead and watch the intro, and then I will show you guys how I did it, and then I'll break it down. That way, if you guys want to try to recreate any of this for your own content, well, use the tips I'm giving you, and then hopefully you can do the same thing. But let's take a look and see and how this intro is made.
Purchase rare Pokemon cards from Amazon.com? Apparently you can, but there is a catch with this. The conditions that they have as guidelines usually aren't really accurate. But I decided to test all this out, and I purchased $1,000 Charizard cards from Amazon.com. Now I'm also going to be sending all of these cards in to get graded with PSA. We're going to see if we can get a bunch of PSA 10s, or I don't want to say the alternative, but we might actually get a bunch of really bad grades, so I don't know how it's gonna go.
All right, so after watching this intro, for a lot of what was shown, I kind of started piecing together how to get it made. And then now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play my version of me editing, or having edited his intro, which you can see right here in my After Effects. I have it open. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a rendered version so there's not that many stutters. But now here's the thing with mine. At first I was gonna use images to like still images so I can put my own effects without it overlapping his already pre-existing effects. But then I was like, you know what, I'll just put it anyway. So that way you get a little mixture of both. But I'm sure you guys will see like what I did, and then either way, I'm gonna explain what I did after. But let's take a look here and let's see how I did it.
Can you purchase rare Pokemon cards from Amazon.com? Apparently you can, but there is a catch with this. The conditions that they have as guidelines usually aren't really accurate. But I decided to test all this out, and I purchased $1,000 Charizard cards from Amazon.com. Now I'm also going to be sending all of these cards in to get graded with PSA. We're going to see if we can get a bunch of PSA 10s, or I don't want to say the alternative, but we might actually get a bunch of really bad grades, so I don't know how it's going to go. But anyway, if you'd like to grade your cards with PSA, there's a promotion going on where you can get $25 off your first submission using promo code PokeRev25 at checkout. Make sure to click that link down below in the description, and again, use code PokeRev25 at checkout.
All right. So yeah, I know some of it was a little jarring because of my overlapping editing that I decided to do, but regardless, let's now just get actually into it, and let me go ahead and explain how it's made, essentially. So obviously all rights and respect go to PokeRev and his editors, but with that being said, let's just go through it and I'll explain how I assume it's made. Don't get me wrong, I didn't nail it 100% because there's just some stuff I just clearly don't know what they used, right? But if we just go through it, you can pretty much break it down, and then yeah, I'll explain. So the video starts off with a camera pan close to his face, and the anchor point, right? The anchor point for that clip. So what is an anchor point? So if you guys see on my screen here, this little icon in the middle, that's the anchor point, right? So what you can do is put the anchor point here to the top left, and then whenever you do a scale property, you'll notice that it's going towards the anchor, right? So that's how normally that kind of effect is made. So if you want to try that out with your own content, go ahead. So the anchor point here is on the top left, and then the Charizard comes in. Now, the cool thing is my Charizard is basically perfectly placed where his is, and the same effect was applied. So if you guys want to know how that's made, which I'll go ahead and hide this layer of the video, but this Charizard coming in, such as you see here, so this is made with the, it's with a plugin. So I noticed when I first watched PokeRev that he and his editors use very heavily, which is good because it helps save a lot of time with effects. It's a plugin called Mr. Horse, or Animation Composer, right? So if you download Mr. Horse, then you're able to do these effects because these are all presetted motions that you can do. So this one is called an overshoot position and rotation, starting from the bottom, okay? So then when you scrub through it, the Charizard comes in, or the Charizard card comes in, And then after that, the Charizard will go up, and then in comes the Amazon logo, as you can see here. Same effect applied, of course, so it's one after the other, because that's how the video was done. So if you watch his clip, and then we watch mine, you'll see that they pretty much almost lined up. 1, 2. Now, of course, it's not going to be 100% perfect in terms of like positioning and whatnot, but like I said, if I made it myself in his video, it would look however I made it. But that's the general idea. So you would just scale it in to the anchor point on the top left, go ahead and have Charizard come in from the bottom, he leaves through the top, in comes Amazon, and then you cut to a white, so this is just like a white background, right? So it's right here, this is called a white solid that I created in After Effects. And then you're gonna have these cards come in, and then it quickly just kind of like swipes upward, right? Like it just goes up, it positions itself upward. The reason I did that is because if we watch his version with the way his editors did it, so the way the cards come in like that is basically opacity. So you can start the opacity with the cards themselves coming in at 0, you animate it to be 100 at some point, and then the cards will go like that, right? Now, I added more cards in mine, but that's pretty much the effect that I did, except I decided to add more cards. But I didn't do an opacity. I just brought the cards in, and I swiped through. And I just figured that would help show that there's like a lot of cards that's available for Amazon. But yeah, this is something that you can do by screenshotting the Amazon list, and then you can just animate this with a position keyframe, which is what I did here. So what I did here was the positioning for these cards, as you can see here, is below the field of view that we would see. And then when you scale forward, it slowly comes up and then it goes quickly, right? And the way that's done is through these 2 keyframes. So this is normally just done by like a keyframe like this, where you just animate it and then you mess with the easy eases and whatnot. So if I change that like I just did, you'll see it animate like that. See that? Pretty cool. Okay, so then moving forward, now right there, what they did there was they just played with the scaling, so they just zoomed into his face, okay? And then after this, now I couldn't 100% replicate his bar, right? And the reason is because I don't know where they got these cards, and I understand that the point of this is to show that the cards are damaged, you know, but I don't know where their editors got these pictures. I just don't know. But what I decided to do to kind of recreate that was I basically animated myself and drew, like using the pen tool in After Effects. I pretty much just drew and took the same colors, and I made sure that it looked very similar to what we would see on his video, as you can see there. And then that way, when we switch it back to his clip, they're pretty much on point. You know, and then the shaking that you see, how the cards like go left and right, like that, you see how they're like moving by themselves. So that's just called a wiggle position effect. So if you go to your effects and presets panel in After Effects and you just type in wiggle, it's called wiggle position, okay? So you can apply that onto whatever you create. So I just created this, I animated this bar. Then yeah, it'll just slowly start shaking, as you can see. And then here comes the big ol' X. So in his original version, a big X comes in on screen just like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I see the way it was animated. It was a overshooting ease, and then this tints to like towards gray more. So then that's what I did. So then the way you could do that is I just created my own X, right? With the pen tool as well. And then once I created the X, you just kind of mess with like the glow, a little bit on the opacity. Opacity means so you can see through it, right? And then when it comes to the actual bars themselves, or like, you know, the little cards in the bottom, again, I couldn't get the photos, but what you could do is still apply a tint. And then the tint can be animated where it says amount to tint. So you basically just switch it from 0, animate it going to like 56% or whatever, basically enough that it goes from the bright colors to a little bit more, you know, washed out color. So then after that, scaling forward, right there, how the camera went backwards, that's just scaling as well. I also noticed that they kind of apply a shaking to the camera. So I am to assume that like all of this intro, this entire intro that they create, or I don't know if it's all their intros, but they created an After Effects and they apply that wiggle position and just have it wiggle very slightly. So that way it shows like it's kind of like a handheld movement, or the transition itself that they're using, which I believe is also done in Animation Composer, because Animation Composer has a lot of transitions that we can use. Which, by the way, if you guys download this, this will save you a lot of time. It's the reason I have it too. I use it for quite a few things myself. But yeah, there's like a bunch of transitions that you can use here, as you can see on screen now. Like, they're really good transitions. They're very, very helpful. And then not only these, but then you can also do that in Premiere. Premiere, Animation Composer, or Mr. Horse works for both After Effects and Premiere. So yeah, so that's how they do their camera movements there. It's either a scaling or they use these transitions so it applies to that camera. And then this money and then the Charizard pops up. Now, if I hide mine, right, you can see that the money comes up and then so does Charizard. And same thing, this animation is done using this animation here in, is it the starter or text presets? Actually, don't I have it starred? Yeah. So if you guys are looking for something like this, so this is the animation. It's called, where's the overshoot? It's called overshoot position and scale right here. Now this one, very useful. What it does is it makes your text come up, and then if you notice that the way that the number here, it looks like it does this, right? That's called an overshoot. So once it animates upwards, then they also animate this Charizard coming in. But now notice again, his camera itself is also still moving, which is why I'm saying that they definitely apply a position effect just so it looks like a little bit more handheld, so nothing looks still. I think the goal for these intros is to be obviously having a lot of movement, keep you entertained, try to keep your eyes trying to keep up with what's going on. And yeah, I mean, I think it's working for them, so that's great. And then moving on, oh wait, and then the way I did it, just so you guys know, I forgot to explain that. So here's my version. Now, I definitely don't have the font that they used for the money, and I don't perfectly know how they did it, but that's the way I was able to have mine come in. And then that Charizard is pretty much the same. That's a Wikipedia Charizard. They're free images, and I was able to overshoot it as well. Same with the money. The money comes up and then goes down, so it overshoots in. The only thing I didn't know is exactly what colors they use. Like, I was able to just tool drop a lot of it, but there's just some colors I'm not going to nail without knowing the exact ones. But I think for all intensive purposes, I think it came out pretty similar, you know? No, definitely I like the way their animation for the money comes in. Definitely looks better than mine. I feel like the Charizard is basically the same. I just had mine come in slightly sooner. And then let's see. What else? This is just a transition. So if you guys wonder how that's made, that's a transition you can use, which again, we have those in Mr. Horse as well. And then let's see, moving on. They're scaling towards him. This time, no wiggle. I can see that there's no wiggle. And when I say scale, by the way, it's like this. So if I go to the clip, which is this one right here, and I press scale, or S for scale, and then I zoom in and out. Remember that anchor point thing? Well, this time the anchor is on him, and then you can just scale it right into his face like that. See that? So that's how that one gets made. So, all right, and then we're gonna move on here. The ram's starting to stutter just a little bit. Let me switch this to half, maybe. Yeah, okay. Okay, next is the PSA pop-up, right? So what I noticed when I watched his version, which I will hide mine really quick, is when I saw the PSA logo and I zoomed in, I was like, oh, this was done manually. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, of course, right? But I'm pretty sure all they did here was they took the PSA logo and then someone went in After Effects, used the pen tool, and recreated it themselves. So then that way, every letter is its own individual layer. And then when you have letters that are in their own layers, or anything in their own layer, you can manipulate that layer to have it do and look like it's, you know, doing something by itself. So for example, this was my version. Again, not perfect, not neat. I wasn't really going for that. I was just going to see how I can recreate it. And yeah, I used the pen tool. I just created the letter P, the S, and the A. Technically, I could, if I want to be a little more accurate, just have this P be ever so slightly closer. Same with this A here. There you go. And then there you go. So each letter has its own animation coming in, okay? So it's probably an overshoot, it is. And then they all pan out together like that. You see that? They all just get out of there together, and that's how they recreated that effect. Or that's how I recreated it, but that's how they do that effect. So if we watch his version, or my version on top of his version, PSA, away. See that? It's pretty much on point. Whew. I think that was pretty good. I think I replicated that pretty well. And then moving on, so as you can see, they're still just panning into him slowly, so there's always movement. I feel like they don't want no movement. Same with here, zooming into his face even more. Anchor point is somewhere in this microphone area, definitely. You can just tell, or the mouth, and you can just tell by the way that the camera is zooming in. And now, here comes this Charizard, right? So if I hide mine, for right now, I saw that they made a Charizard bounce in, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. So then we just get a Charizard image, use one of the presets in Animation Composer for the transition, or for the movement rather, and there you go. Charizard came right in. Okay, so if you want to do that, that's how that one was made. And then moving on, this is another camera pan zoom in, okay? And then moving on again, let's see. So this time, they're very slowly scaling outward from his face. And then another PSA plugin pops back out. And then what do we got here? Oh, is this the money? This one was the one that I had trouble with in regards to getting it as close to how they have it as possible. I'll go ahead and press play real quick so this can play back. Okay, so actually I'll just explain with the exported version. But basically what I did here was this one. So now if we watch this version, the exported one, just so my computer can catch up. So the way this is done is same thing. You just write out the text. So this is a solid of this color green. Okay, the numbers, all of this were made with a solid color. And then you give it a stroke. And I tried to recreate the color. Again, it's not perfect. It's fine. Same with the bottom. But they animate it coming inward from the bottom. And then you outward, or you scale it downward to the anchor. And that's how you can do that effect. And then here comes the promo code PokeRev25. Now all of these also have wiggles because again, they want that constant movement. So that's how that was made. And then what else we got here? And then you can tell the entire time they're zooming outward from his face. Okay, so that constant movement. And then we get into the really cool transition of PokeRev. You know, like it is really cool to see this animation. I feel like I know how to recreate a lot of this, but what I don't know, because I'm pretty sure it was done with a motion graphics person, like a MoGrapher that did this. It looks like this was 3D made, this Pokeball, maybe in Blender or something. And then they animated it moving upward. And then this transition right here, these sparks, I think that was done in Animation Composer as well. I might be wrong, because I could have been done themselves. But if we go frame by frame, that does look like it was pre-made, I think. But the rest of it's amazing. Like the electricity is great. The little shapes are great. This was on a 3D composition, so that's how they were able to put like the cards in the background, some cards in the foreground, which I could also explain that or recreate it at some point. But this is really cool. I love this animation they made. Really well done. And then there's a globe down there, which is really cool as well. So yeah. So like the point of me making this video, by the way, was to like just give you guys a little behind the scenes scoop on even like what it takes to animate and like create intros like this, you know, because these intros take a while. All in all, this video, it was fun to do. I think it was cool, like I said, to show a little behind the scenes, and hopefully this is something that was educational for all of you. And if you guys are looking to create something like this, we'll let this be a little bit of an explainer. I could do like a full in-depth video too, if that's even better. Yeah, this was more like an overview, not like a step-by-step tutorial. But if you guys want one of those in the future, maybe we can do that. Just let me know. Now, if you guys need any Pokemon cards, I would really appreciate you supporting us over at leafbracer.co. We are a family-owned store, so feel free to take around and see if there's anything on there you would like. We have booster boxes, we have booster packs, we have singles. If you're looking to master complete a set of yours, then go ahead and see if we have that available. And if you guys are looking to watch any videos, there's going to be 2 linked right here. Take a look at whichever you'd like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.